A Scrum Master training is absolutely crucial in your journey to becoming a Scrum Master. However, a Scrum Master training is not going to teach you many things that you will need to be successful on the role. That's the sad reality. But guess what? You've got me, your online Agile coach, to help you fill in the gaps. So if you're interested in learning some of the things that you will not find in a Scrum Master training, then this episode is for you. But before we get into it, let's have some introduction. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Yinka and I am an Agile coach with over 10 years of experience. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing 5 things that you probably will not learn in any Scrum Master training program. So now let's get into it. Now, the very first thing that you probably will not find in a Scrum Master training is the importance of soft skills. Now, many Scrum Master trainings are designed to teach you the art skills that you need to understand the role and the process. Now, Scrum is a framework. So in many Scrum Master training, you're going to learn all about Scrum. You're going to learn about Agile. You're going to learn about the Scrum events. You're going to learn about the roles and all of that stuff. All of those things are art skills. Now, one thing that you're probably not going to learn is the soft skills that are required for you to implement your job. It's one thing for you to know. It's another thing for you to understand how to implement what you know. And Scrum Master trainings are not designed to teach you the soft skills, the importance of effective communication, for example. If you do not know how to communicate your thoughts, if you do not know how to communicate the things that you know really well, then of what use is the knowledge that you have? So it's very important that as you're learning the art skills, okay, you've got to step up and level up on your soft skills. You've got to understand how to communicate what you know to your team. Now, another soft skill that is equally important in this role is confidence. You need so much confidence in this role because you're dealing with a lot of people. And especially in a situation where you've got to learn how to influence people, you need confidence. Confidence for them to believe that you're leading them in the right direction. Now, a Scrum Master role, even though you're in a servant leadership position, you are not in a situational position, right? You're not in a situational leadership position. And that's a difference because in a servant leadership position, you've got to lead by influence. And so people are not forced to listen to you. People have a choice whether they want to listen to you or not. You've got to convince them to listen to you. For example, nobody is forcing you to listen to this episode right now. You made that choice. You are probably intrigued by my title, or you're probably intrigued by the description of today's episode. And you're like, you know what? Let me check it out. It's very similar to a Scrum Master role. Even though you're going to be assigned to the team and everyone in the team understands that you're the Scrum Master, if they don't find enough reason to follow your lead, they will not. And so it's important for you to also learn confidence if you're somebody who is not naturally confident, because you're going to need a lot of it. People admire people who are confident naturally. So the individuals in your team, when they see that you're a confident person, they are more obliged to want to listen to what you have to say. So you need a lot of confidence. And the good thing is that knowledge actually helps you become more confident, because the more you know, the more confident you are, right? You can speak intelligently because you know you're a subject matter expert on what you're talking about. But I'm sure in many cases, you've come across people who have confidently said nonsense, right? People will say something that is incorrect in a very confident way, and you will think it was the correct thing. Now, that's the role that confidence plays, and it helps with your communication, because when you're very confident, people tend to listen to you because they are drawn by your charisma, and they're like, okay, what the Scrum Master is telling us must be the truth because of the way you say it, because of how you say it. It's really important. And Scrum Master Training are not designed to teach you these things. And that's why this episode is extremely important for you. So that as you keep learning, the ins and outs of Scrum and Agile, please, if there are soft skills that you are lacking, I want you to spend time, bringing yourself up to speed. Spend time learning how to communicate. Spend time working on your confidence. Okay. Speak in front of the camera, speak in front of the mirror, talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues, spend less time chatting, spend more time conversing with people, talking to people, spend more time on the phone, get on Zoom calls, get on FaceTime with your friends, build your confidence, volunteer to stand up and talk in front of a crowd. All of those things will help you with your confidence because you're going to need it in this role. Now, another soft skill that you need that you're probably not going to learn is active listening. Now, you're going to be doing a lot of talking, right? You are also going to have to listen a lot for you to be able to understand your environment, for you to be able to understand your team, for you to be able to understand your surroundings and understand how you can then help them to get to their finish line. So you're going to need to know how to listen. Active listening is super important. So as a Scrum Master, don't spend all your time talking. Spend time listening because there's so much for us to learn when you listen. Now, let's take a look at this episode, for example. I'm the one doing all the talking. There's nothing for me to learn in this time that I'm talking. But right now, you are listening. You are learning. You are learning so much in this time that we are spending together. I'm not learning so much because this is not a conversation. You're not in the same space with me where you're giving me a response. So you are doing all the learning while I'm doing all the talking. And that's why it's important that as your team members who are the experts in what they're building are doing all the talking, you've got to spend time listening because there's so much you're going to learn about the team, about the work they're doing from the conversations that your team members are having. So it's important for you to really brace up your skills when it comes to active listening. Also, other soft skills that you're going to need will be courage. You need courage to be able to speak up, okay? It's one thing for you to know. It's one thing for you to be able to know how to communicate. You need the courage to also speak up. You have to be a courageous person, right? Because sometimes your team might be going in a different direction that you clearly know that they're going in a different direction. And you need courage to be able to speak up to your team and tell them, why don't you guys try another approach? Now, if that approach fails, then that's fine. You will know that you've tried something. But if you don't even speak up to your team, then of what use is the knowledge that you have? Courage is extremely important in this role. And so there's so many soft skills that you have to pay attention to. Emotional intelligence, having empathy for your team, wearing their shoes, being in their position. One mistake that I see a lot of people make, especially new Scrum Masters, is the fact that they assume that other people know what they know. Remember, you are the Scrum Master. You are the one who has gone through the Scrum process. You're the one who's gone through all of this training, all of this mentorship. These guys on the other side, they are skilled in different things. They understand coding. They understand development. Whatever it is that they're building, they are skilled in that area. So you guys have two different set of skills. And so you have to bring them up to speed and up to par with you so that they understand what you're saying and why you are saying what you're saying. So you have to understand empathy and practice what you also preach. Now, the fact that you tell them one time that this is the benefit of daily Scrum, for example, doesn't mean that the next time you're going to be expert on it. Because if you go back to your own journey towards becoming a Scrum Master, it wasn't the first time that you got it right. So you have to practice a lot of empathy with your team because they're never going to get it right the first time. And that's why with continuous learning, they will get it right and eventually come up to speed with the same knowledge you have of Scrum and Agile. So you have to be able to practice empathy, situational awareness. You have to have an open mindset, be open to feedback, always listen to your team, talk less, and more importantly, know how to communicate with your team. Now, the second thing that you probably would not learn in any Scrum Master training is the importance of learning the tools. Now, in your Scrum Master training, they're probably going to tell you, some of the tools that we use in the Agile space. So you're going to learn about Jira, Azure DevOps, and whatnot, Monday.com, and, all of those things out there. But it's extremely important that you know how to use those tools very well. Now, you know what those tools are. You know what they do. That's one thing. You need to know how to use these tools very well because these are the day-to-day things that your team will be working with. If you don't understand, for example, how Jira works, it will really be difficult for you to help your product owner manage the backlog better. It's going to be more like theory because you're telling the product owner, you have to do this, you have to do that. But you don't have a clue on what to do. So of what use are you to the team? Of what use are you to that product owner? This is the reality. When you get on the job, you will find out that you knowing the tool is as important as you understanding the process. So it's important that you get a free version of Jira or you get a free version of Azure DevOps and start practicing. Understand what it means to create a user story. Understand what it means to create an epic. Understand, how to create work items. Understand how to even create a board. You will be shocked. The things as tiny as that could become an impediment. You could join a team that their board will be so scattered and your job will be to create sanity to that situation. And if you don't know how to use the tool, then it's going to make your job a lot harder because now you can't help them out of that mess because you also do not know how to use the tool. So while it's important for you to learn the process, because definitely you need knowledge of the process to help your team out, you also need to learn how to use these tools in the Agile space. It's important because the backlog is extremely important for us. That is where we store everything we're going to be building on this product. So if you don't know how to use that tool, it's going to be very difficult for you to support your team because work is going to be scattered. So please, if you don't know how to use these tools, I recommend you getting a free version today and start practicing. There are lots of videos online that'll probably help you. There are lots of videos and, documentation, even from the website of the creators that will help you. Jira, for example, is created by Atlassian, and they have a whole university where you can learn so much online and it's free. So please get knowledge and start implementing what you know. Same thing with Azure DevOps. These are the two biggest tools that many organizations use out there. So you will be doing yourself a lot of good if you learn both so that regardless of which one your team is using, you already have an understanding of how to get them started and how to keep them going. It's very important. Many of the teams will require some of the metrics. If you don't understand how to even pull the metrics, that's another problem right there, okay? So you want to learn how to use the tool. It's extremely important. And Scrum Master training will not stretch the importance of tools because they're not designed to do that. They are designed to teach you Agile and Scrum. And though tools are a way for us to, store our backlog items, it's not really in their curriculum to teach you. And so that's why this episode is giving you those tips. So please take it serious. You're going to be doing yourself a whole lot of good because when you get on the job, you will thank me later. For sure. Now, the third thing that is extremely important that many Scrum Master training will not teach you is the importance of having a big picture of what your team is working on. It's very important. Now, I know you don't need to be technical. You don't need to know how to code. I'm not asking you to code. I don't have a clue either, okay? You don't need to know how to code. But you've got to understand the big picture. What is this team building? You have to have the same understanding as your product owner. Your product owner is also not writing those codes. Your product owner is not building that product, but your product owner has the direction of where that product is going. Your product owner has that big picture. So you need to spend a lot of time with your product owner, understanding what we are building, how we are building these things, when we need to complete the things that we're building, and whatnot, so that you can help your team move in the right direction. At that point in time, the process begins to make sense. Because if you don't have a clue on what the team is working on, it's so difficult for you to know whether the team is even on track. It's so difficult for you to know when the team is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But if you know that, okay, we're trying to build a house, okay? You don't need to know how to lay the bricks. You don't need to know the color of the tiles. You don't need to know some of those granular things, but you need to understand that we're building a house. You need to understand the type of house that we're building. You need to understand the way the team has broken down how they intend to build the house. You need to understand the milestones and when we need to get to those milestones, so that with that knowledge, you can then help your team to move in the right direction. Okay. So if we're building a house and the first thing we want to do is lay the foundation, you have to have that understanding, so that then by the time the team starts breaking down all of the things that they need to build in order to build a foundation, you will then be able to hold them accountable to the things that they've said they're going to build in order for them to get the foundation. But if you're so distant enough from the work, if you don't understand the big picture of what is being built, it will really be difficult for you to follow through. So I suggest that you pay attention to what your team is building. Have a bigger picture of where they're going. Spend time with your product owner to understand the milestones, the roadmaps, how all of those things connect to one another, so that you can then support your team and help them become effective. Because when you go back to the Scrum Guide, your role is for your team to be effective so that they can achieve their goals. But if you don't have a clue what they're working on, it's so difficult for you to make them effective. If you have no clue that somebody has to be up by 7 a.m. in the morning to go to school, then how are you going to hold them accountable to be up by 7 a.m. and get to school? Right? That's a random example, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So please, when you get on the job, your role is not just to facilitate meetings and then show up. You don't even have a clue on what the sprint's goal is. You don't even know what we're working towards. Your role is not just to show up, and share your screen and tell the team to get started. They can do that themselves. These people are brilliant people. So please don't underestimate the intelligence of your team. They are brilliant people. So please do yourself that favor by coming up to speed and having a big picture of what your team is working on, so that you can help them to achieve their goals. Now, another thing that you probably will not learn in many Scrum Master training are the various practices that are out there in the Agile space. There is so much more than Scrum. And I'm sure that if you've listened to me long enough, you probably have heard me say this a million times. There is so much more than Scrum. The only practice that we have out there is not daily Scrum. It's not backlog refinements. Okay. There's so much more that it's out there that you're going to have to figure out. And so a Scrum Master training is not designed to start teaching you things that are outside of it. Remember that this training are really focused on the body of work that training is trying to accomplish. So for example, if you're trying to get a CSM, a certified Scrum Master, and you go for that training is focused on Scrum. So you're going to learn everything Scrum, from the definition to the values, to the events, to the roles, and things like that. When you try to apply for SSM, which is Safe Scrum Master, you're going to learn about SAFe. SAFe is a completely different, framework in itself. And so you're not going to learn so many things that you'll probably learn in Scrum. Now, you're going to learn a few things because in SAFe also, they practice Scrum because SAFe is a scaling framework. So they're going to teach you a bit of Scrum, but they're going to teach you things quite differently. So what I'm trying to say is every training is exclusive to its framework. It's exclusive and really closed to what they want you to know regarding that framework. So whether you go get your CSM or you go get your SSM or you go get a PSM, you are still going to have to broaden your perspective, because there is so much more than the limitations that those trainings are designed to give you. And that's why Scrum tells you that you can add practices to it. As long as you don't take anything away, you're still practicing Scrum because you can add other practices to it. And those other practices are the things that they don't teach you in any Scrum Master training. And those are the things that you have got to learn. Okay? Now let's take a look at some of those practices out there that if you don't have a clue about, you need to start learning about. Some of those include Scrum of Scrum. Some of those include lead time. Some of those include, definition of done, definition of ready, continuous deployment, story mapping, frequent releases. You probably heard about velocity, unit testing, refactoring, iterative development. You probably have heard about some of those. So there's just a whole lot out there that there's just too many for me to kind of count in this episode. But there's so much out there for you to learn that I want you to go into the deep, go online, research Agile practices, and start learning. You will thank me later because by the time you start on this job, you will know the importance of those extra practices that you will not learn in any of those training programs. So now that you know some of the things that you're not going to learn in a Scrum Master training, what next must you do? You've got to start learning. A training will never give you everything you need. Nobody's going to give you everything you need in life. It's up to you to continuously learn, continuously grow if you want to be successful. So I hope that starting from today, you're going to create a learning backlog where you're going to start documenting the things that you want to learn and you're going to start learning them from today. Don't wait until you get that job before you start learning. Opportunity meets preparation. Prepare yourself so that when that opportunity comes, you grab it by the neck and you get it. Here is me wishing you all the best as usual. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave me a review. Don't forget to like. And more importantly, do not forget to share with your social friends, with your social groups, and everybody out there. Thank you so much for helping me grow my channel. I love you guys so much, and I cannot wait to catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.